Good afternoon, everyone. We are very excited for a fabulous session. Welcome to Inspired by the Mediterranean, Fresh Californian and Italian Takes on Traditional Flavors. How about the marketplace? I mean, can we just give it up for a second? Hopefully you are sated. Hopefully you enjoyed the last session if you were in there, or some cocktails, or a walk outside in the gardens. Our moderator for this session, and sorry, I want to thank our sponsors for the previous break and all of the amazing bites that you've been having throughout the day, and thank the wonderful company in particular for this session that you are about to enjoy. Here to take us through this session, we have a real treat to be joined as moderator by Cathy Nash Holley, who is the publisher and editor-in-chief of Flavor and the Menu, and she's been in that role since about 20 years. And fun fact about Cathy, she has been here for 20 of the 21 Worlds of Flavors. I think she wins the attendance award, gotta say. So if you're not familiar with Flavor in the Menu, they have an annual top 10 trends issue, which is a great resource for the food service industry, serving as a source of flavor and menu trends, strategies, and innovation. And in addition to overseeing the magazine, Cathy, who's based in Portland, Maine, gives presentations on flavor trends at industry events and is immediate past president of the International Food Service Editorial Council. So please give a very warm welcome to Cathy Nash Holley.
Thank you very much, Sophie. I am excited to be moderating this session because it has a word that I think we all can take away from Worlds of Flavor, and that is inspiration, inspired. I am, as Sophie mentioned, I'm privileged enough to have attended the very first Worlds of Flavor event where just 90 of us, I think, gathered in the teaching kitchens there. And it's been really fascinating to watch the Worlds of Flavor conference grow in size and significance. And as a media partner, similarly in the industry, watching the reflection, it really mirrors what's going on in the industry. So as a food service editor for the past 20-ish years, it's been a great resource for me, and I think, again, reflective of where we are on the American menu development. But getting back to inspiration, it's interesting to think about how the authenticity of certain dishes drive inspiration to do, to pick and choose certain elements from a certain cuisine to really kind of signaturize. And that's kind of a uniquely American trait if you think about it. And that's kind of fascinating. And that's what makes modern American cuisine as such, that we are able to kind of think outside the boundaries and benefit from the many authentic cuisines coming into American cuisines and ingredients coming into the American pantry. So to start this session off will be David Hodson. And David is a chef de cuisine of nearby Bouchon Bistro in Yountville here, Michelin starred. He has been working with Thomas Keller's in Thomas Keller's kitchens for 9 years now. Started his career at Bouchon Bistro in 2009, and he was quickly promoted to sous chef, and moved his way to the French Laundry in 2014, where he became a sous chef there in 2016. And then in January 2018, he took over his current position there. So he will be pulling from an inspired California, kind of bringing in the taste of place here in his presentation. But I first want to hand this over to our sponsor for this session. Steve Diener is Senior Sales Director of the wonderful company, and he will kick this off and set the tone for this session.
I'll make this very brief. First of all, a shout out to the chefs for the great work that I know they're going to do. I've had the pleasure of having dinner at Bouchon since it almost originally opened and continue to go back. And I've been to Suzette's restaurant several times. And if you haven't dined in her restaurant in San Francisco, you're missing a real treat. Secondly, if you're around the space this afternoon, give a shout out to the staff here, please. They do a lot of work that they get very little credit for as people run around, step on them, move them out of the way. Take a moment and say thank you. It's important. They do the work, and they're really the backbone of this organization. We're going to show you a quick video on the wonderful company, and we're in the process of rebranding the entire company. We are a dedicated, branded agricultural company. We're probably one of the largest agricultural companies in California that people don't really know how and what and where it ties in. Our sustainability goals, our education goals, our community involvement goals. So you'll see a little bit about what we do. We hope it doesn't bore you, but it'll be a lot of fun to watch. Also want to mention that part of the reason that we're here this year, although we've been going here for 13 years, 5 years with Bouchon, 5-year anniversary with Jared, we've had a great time together. It's always special. At the end of the day, what we need to do is launch a new product today. That's, well, today, this week, and a couple weeks ago. Our seedless lemons. We're excited about it. We're in the process of rolling out. We're a little limited this year, but we'll be rolling out full tilt next year, and they are 100% seedless. So take a chance, take an opportunity to enjoy. I know you'll see the products today, and if you would, please cue the video.
Now there was a time when you loved me so I couldn't go wrong. Now you need to know. See, I've been a bad, 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 bad man, and I'm in deep. Yeah, I found a brand new love for this man, and can't wait till you see. I can't wait. So how you like me now? 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 Remember the time when I eat you up? Yeah, I was alive that you can't give up. If I was to cheat, oh, now would you see right through me? If I sing a sad, 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 sad song, would you give it to me? Would you? So how you like me now? 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 How you like me now?
Especially proud of. We're owned by a husband and wife, privately held company, and Stuart and Linda Resnick just gave $750 million to Caltech for the support of sustainability and climate change. That is on top of the $50 million they gave them several years ago to establish the Sustainability Studies Group. So at the end of the day, we appreciate all your help and we appreciate the business, but please know that when you spend money with us, it ultimately winds up going to a very good cause. Thank you. Enjoy the show.
Right, hi guys, I'm David. I'm the chef at Bouchon, and very excited to be here to partner with the Culinary Institute. We have a really great relationship with them. One of my commis that I've brought with me today is actually on an externship through the school, so that relationship is very beneficial for both of us. I hope more for him, but for us as well. We really enjoy having them. And also, we're very happy to be representing Wonderful today as well. I'm really excited about these seedless lemons today. I think a lot of people just think of a lemon as being juice, and that's about it. But hopefully, I can kind of show you some of the ways that I find it kind of exciting to use these new ones, and I'm sure we'll be coming up with more ways as we move along. One thing that we do with lemons is make supremes. Excuse me. So cutting out the segments. And using that as a garnish on our plate. Currently, that's on our menu. And one of our struggles is we always have seeds. So you have this you're trying to make this nice, beautiful supreme, and you have a seed in the middle of it. So there's kind of a seam that destroys the appearance of it. With these guys, you don't have those seeds, so you end up with much more beautiful end product. So I'll just show you. I think anyone who's probably done this kind of knows what I'm talking about. You get in there and the seed just kind of breaks up your supreme. So you look, it's all one piece. So I think that's one way we're definitely going to be using it a lot in the restaurant. It's currently on our menu, so we'll be bringing in the Wonderful for that. But moving on to my dish today, I'm going to be doing the citrus stuffed dorade. So as I said, there's a lot more to a lemon than just its juice. So one use of this is I'm going to make a paste from the lemon to season this dorade. So you have the skin of the lemon, which has all the perfume, the juice, which has all the acidity, and then you have the bitterness in the rind. So there's a lot of different things going on beyond the juice. So I'm just going to cut these up, put them in the blender. I'm going to also put in some garlic confit, some olive oil, a little salt, and parsley. I'm going to puree that, and that's going to be the seasoning for the dorade. So like I said, we have the olive oil. And then we have salt. Guys, do you have my salt? This is going to be the salt for later, but we'll be able to use this here. So it's going to be a little aggressively seasoned here, so that we can, because it's not actually going to transfer that much salt to the dish. We want it to be kind of strong there. So you have our olive oil. Give your parsley leaves. Parsley leaves? Yeah. 50 grams parsley leaves. We're going to start blending this up. And we don't want to take it too fine. We want to end up with more of a paste. So we have our parsley here as well as our garlic. We're going to blend that into a paste. We'll leave some texture on there. So that's what we have here that we've previously made. So with this, we're also going to create our salt crust. So salt crust is a way to cook anything, really. It's a gentle way to cook because the salt seals in all the steam. So it's very gently cooked, and all the vapors stay inside, and everything stays juicy. So it's very nice for fish. One advantage, too, is that you can add a lot of aroma to the fish. And we'll be getting that from the parsley as well as the garlic. So I have salt here. I have this paste we've made, as well as egg whites. I'm just going to mix that up. So the egg whites kind of help to firm up the crust when it cooks. And then obviously our paste adds a lot of aroma and flavor. And then the salt traps all the moisture in, as well as lightly seasons the protein. It looks like a lot of salt, but it's not really going to get into the fish. So we have our fish here. This is a dorade. So we're going to open it up. I've scored it a little bit, and the bones are all taken out. That's going to make it easier for us to plate it up later. I'm going to spread a little of this paste. All that flavor is going to go into the fish. Now we're going to build our salt crust. Start laying this down. We're basically going to create a shell for the fish to cook inside of, and that'll trap in all the moisture. Put a dorade there, and then we'll bury it basically in this salt crust. From there, we're going to put that in the oven and bake it until the salt crust gets very hard and the fish is cooked through. All right, so while that's cooking, we're going to talk about the à la grecque. So à la grecque is a method of cooking vegetables. It's French, meaning in the style of the Greek. So basically, you make a court bouillon. So I have water, wine, lemon juice, chopped shallots. We're going to add a little salt here. And then we're going to make a sachet. So in this sachet, we got bay leaves, thyme, parsley stems, black peppercorns, fennel seeds, as well as celery seeds. So that's just going to make our broth nice and aromatic. It's very acidic and aromatic. It's going to give some flavor to the vegetables and eventually give us our sauce as well. So we're going to bring that to a boil and then begin cooking our vegetables in it. You can do this one of two ways. You can cook individual vegetables, bring them out as they're ready, or you can kind of try to time it out to where the things that are going to cook the longest you put in first. So we've actually Today we've got pearl onions. Those will get in first. And then other things will come along as we get closer. I'm going to check on we have a swap out here for the fish that I'm going to put in. So the idea here is that we're going to cook these in the court bouillon, all these different vegetables, and then when they're done, we're going to remove them. When they're fully cooked, we're going to take the liquid, reduce it down, and that's going to make the vinaigrette for the sauce. Maybe you could answer some questions or something while we have a short break here.
One question I'm wondering if you could comment on is the inspiration of this particular dish. We were talking about it earlier, kind of coming from Mediterranean and even French inspired with a California twist. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so really what we're always trying to do at Bouchon is really have roots in classic French techniques as well as dishes. But we try to translate them to California by using products that are here that are great, that we have access to, instead of trying to ship something from far away when we have something great in our backyard.
Right, so anchoring them with
So
a sense of place. Yeah.
when we thought about Mediterranean, we thought about the Riviera, and this is a Mediterranean fish itself, and then a la grecque is a very Mediterranean cooking technique as well. So this is kind of, I know we're starting to get into winter, but this is a very kind of light and acidic and kind of, when you think of the Mediterranean, you almost think of summer, but you can really do this dish any time of year. You can change your vegetables as you need to go with the season. So we're just gonna kind of pretend that this is already cooked. We have our final product ready to go. This will be kind of spaced out over more time, typically. So you're gonna kind of want to add the vegetables as they need more time. Basically, the mushrooms are gonna take the least time. So cook all these individual vegetables, and then you're going to remove all the vegetables and reduce the vinaigrette down until it's more of a sauce. So this is what we're going to end up with here. We will add a little bit of pomegranates to it. We don't necessarily want to cook those. But we have these beautiful, wonderful pomegranates. We're going to add for a little texture and flavor. So we'll take a look here, and once this is nice and hot, we'll be ready to plate up. Then we'll be able to pull our fish out of the oven and plate that as well. On this, we're going to finish with parsley. In this dish, the sauce is very, very acidic, very bright. You're not really looking to do very large quantities of it, otherwise it might overwhelm the dish. It just kind of serves as sort of a vinaigrette to the vegetables. Right. Take a peek at this fish. Normally it would take a bit longer, but I have a swap out for the purposes of time. So the fish will be hot inside. This crust is nice and firm now. So we're basically going to cut the fish out now. So for this purpose, we're going to remove the skin. Skin can be very delicious on this fish. With this technique, it's kind of gets very salty. It's really about the texture of the fish inside that you're more interested in. It's kind of skin itself's a little soggy as well with this technique. The flesh inside is very, very moist. Then we've kind of made some pre-scores to kind of facilitate plating here. Just remove that gently. We're going to finish the dish with a few lemon supremes. A little chervil to garnish. And then lots of olive oil, because you can think of this sauce almost like a vinaigrette, so you want that fat to kind of balance out the acidity of the sauce. Like I'm a little early. Do you have any other questions that maybe we could talk
Chef,
about?
that's beautiful. I did have a question on,
Yes.
and I'll open it up to the audience as well. On that, have you thought about doing tableside for the fish prep or the service?
Yeah, I think
So striking.
the actual plating
salt.
of the
Yeah.
plating of the dish is kind of the fun part to do in the dining room.
Right.
We do dishes like that sometimes at Bouchon.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we'll present part of the dish, bring it back, and do it in the kitchen.
Sure.
Or if
Yeah.
you have like a duck or something where you'll show the roasted duck, bring it back, carve it, and plate it.
Right. That definitely has the wow impact. And what other applications for the citrus paste have you explored?
You know, it'd be really nice rubbed on meat and grilled, or anything that you want to add a lot of flavor to. It's almost like in the line of like a chimichurri or something, right? If you taste it's very, very potent, very strong lemon, very good garlic, parsley.
Questions from the audience? How long does it take to cook in the oven? Right.
Yeah, it takes about, depending on the oven, probably about 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of all stuck to the bottom side of the fish, and then when you grab the next two fillets, it's kind of on the top side there.
Any other questions?
New flavors. Not really right now. I mean, this is kind of what we're playing with, and it's pretty cool. But it's more about technique that we can get from the seed list rather than a new flavor. I think you use this any place you would use a lemon before.
I actually appreciated the blending of the peel in the sauce too.
Yeah.
That must add a bit more acidity.
The peel itself has a lot of aroma. It's like the perfume of the lemon,
Yeah.
and then
a little more oil.
the rind in between has a little bitterness, which is very pleasant in the right quantities.
Anyone else? Questions for the chef before we transition? We're good. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you.
All right, transitioning to our next presenter, Suzette Gresham is the co-owner and executive chef at Aquarello. How did I do, Suzette?
Excellent.
All right, Aquarello in San Francisco. And Aquarello has held a spot every year on the San Francisco Chronicle's top 100 Bay Area restaurant list since its inception 22 years ago. It's pretty impressive, Suzette's lineup of awards here. But in 2007, actually since, this restaurant has received a Michelin star every year since 2007. That's a pretty impressive accomplishment. In 2014, it was awarded a second star, and Suzette is only the third woman in the U.S. to hold 2 stars. In 1980, she was the first female apprentice to be on the U.S. Culinary Olympic team. 4 years later, she returned as an individual competitor and brought home a bronze medal. She and her team at Acquarello provide experiences for the diner that are emblematic of what they could expect in Italy. So you see, we're making a transition here to real authenticity and delivered kind of in the San Francisco Bay Area style. She remains current by listening to diners, maintaining an awareness of her marketplace, and revitalizing forgotten ingredients and classic dishes through interpretive applications, which I think is a really interesting way to summarize your mission there. She's got an impressive roster that I could go on for more, and her full bio's on the app, but I want to let her take the stage here. So welcome, Suzette.
Does anyone need to get up and stretch? It's the end of the day. It's been a big one. We've had a demo this morning, the marketplace, and now another demo, and the last thing I want you to do is fall asleep. So I intend to be entertaining and approachable. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to have a little culinary throwdown right here. No, you don't have to cook. Relax. But I'd like to introduce my team and my family. If you'd come out, please. Vincent Sanchez, local boy, gone home, done good. He's here in Santa Elena with Woodhouse Chocolates, Woodhouse Barbecue, and Girl in the Fig. He was with us for 3 years. Cut his teeth on the pasta station, which is a horrible station in our kitchen. It's just massive chaos, and we like to think we do it well. So Vince did an exceptional job. And joining him is Teresa. Her new name is Carluccio. She married a nice Italian boy just last month. And so she was with us 9 years. She corrected me today because I keep saying 5, 7, 8. She's like, Chef, it was 9. Almost a decade. Much to her testament, she came in as a culinarian, went on to be a server, she worked banquets, she became an event planner, and finally a director of operations. So there's a girl with some gumption, get up and go. And now she has her own company, and it's Mise en Place Nutrition. She's gone off and got a nutrition school. So not only does she make it taste good, she makes it healthy and look good too. So I'm very pleased that my expats are willing to help me out today, because without them, it wouldn't be a whole lot. So with no further ado, this morning, we did a demo, and it was Egypt to Italy. And I thought, holy crap, how am I going to cover that in 22 minutes? So I went and did some digging about research and that and the other, and realized just how much I don't know. So I would rather just stick to what I do know. And I felt that the thrust of that class was inspiration. So I threw down a teaser, and I have a little PowerPoint for you today, which I'm not going to show you yet. It's up there on the screen. But I have a little task for you, so try to stay awake, see if you can pay attention. But in the meantime, I chose this medium because it's bright and it's colorful. But I want to show you where inspiration can come from and how you too can be inspired. And whether you know it or not, you're all honorary chefs now, and you're part of the Italian family. So welcome. And you are creative, whether you think you are or not. Creative is a learned skill, and I try to teach it to everybody. It just comes to us in different ways. So I was especially happy to have the support of Palm Wonderful Company today. My daughters have been drinking Palm juice for a long time. These particular ones happen to be from Teresa's garden here locally. But pomegranates, antioxidants, wonderful items add acidity and brightness to almost anything you want to add them to, straight up, naked, or on something. Pistachio is one of my all-time favorites. We did a different format today. Today we made a siphon cake, just to show you what you could do that you might not be thinking about in your spare time. Also, we did a pomegranate molasses type of a syrup to show you another application. And not to forget the lowly grapefruit. The grapefruit's here. Pardon me. End of a bad cold. It's here in a very simple form today, but we meant to do some little arrows also, which is the right name for those little cute things inside the pomegranate. But there's another name, starts with the letter P, and this can be a test. I can't think of it. It sounds like a horrible word, but it's not that, for the little tiny jewels inside the pomegranate. So if you think of it, bonus prize. In the meantime, what I've done to my poor unsuspecting assistants here is said, hey, we're making squab carpaccio your way. So we have a series of crudos, carpaccios, and tartares that we've done over the years at Acquarello. And they're wonderful, and they convey a certain element of cleanliness and purity, and I thought they would be a great base or a foil for these same ingredients. You might not think of those ingredients on a carpaccio, and you certainly might not think of squab as carpaccio material at all. So what we did today was I wanted to show you, because I want you to know that you too can do this, because now that you're all chefs, you have no fear. This is very approachable. Sharp knives are very important at home. We took a squab, and we deboned it to the point where the leg and thigh were removed. But we did a cure, which is just a nice little salt rub. It was there for a period of time, very short amount of time, because it's very thin skinned and it's a very light, small application because the density of the meat is not very thick and there's not a lot of fat to protect you. So this cure was on for maybe 4 hours. It came off. We then put it into a sous vide and cooked it. And we took it out and we cold smoked it. Why cold smoke? Cold smoke adds no cook to it, adds a lot of flavor and nuance and depth, helps in my mind go with some of these flavors, and also helps it to hold a little bit longer too. It's also a method of preservation. So Vince very nicely boned it off the bone so you can see what one fillet looks like. One fillet can give you quite a few portions. So what we did to make it rather entertaining today was we pounded it. So this looks like it could be very laborious, but honestly it's not. Once you've done, that's the worst part and it's over. You are slicing it at a diagonal across the grain, laying it down on a piece of saran wrap. I made a cute little template like this. You can do this on wax paper. I just simply put this down for the inside diameter of my dish, whatever dish you have at home. And I laid it under the saran wrap, put my squab down, put another saran wrap, and pounded it out with a meat pounder to get this nice little mosaic or base. Carpaccio is supposed to be pounded thin. There are many applications, but the one that I prefer is the thin. You usually see it on a red meat such as beef or veal or lamb or duck, meaning that it's going to be enough fiber to hold up. And squab is a very meaty poultry, so we really felt that this application with the smoke and the fact that it's poultry would be a great accomplice to these other ingredients. So what we have here are a selection of little things we thought were harvest friendly. We made a squash puree. The squash puree was a simple roast of some squash. It had beautiful lungo di Napoli, which is in season, an heirloom Italian. We did a honey nut, which is a new shortened version of your butternut that's out there, delicious. We did one with truffle. We just put truffle and truffle oil, baked it in the oven, lightly covered so that it wouldn't brown, and pureed it. There was no reason to add much more except for a little truffle honey, which was my thickener, so to speak. And you're only adding ingredients to the point of where it grabs and holds. And that's what you have to do just to make it stay the right consistency. The other one we did completely differently, and we left it as naked as possible. Salt and pepper. You can see the color content. Very interesting. This is the brighter, cleaner, oranger, wet one, which was the lungo di Napoli. I wasn't prepared for the elevated liquidity inside the squash. I didn't expect that from what looked like would be a dry squash. And this was the honey nut, which you can see is more pumpkin-esque and darker and richer. This had a thicker density and actually a smoother, creamier finish, which I prefer. So, having said all that, we are going to let Teresa and Vince have at it. We're going to give them olive oil, salt, pepper. We have a beautiful palm. I don't know if you can see the color on this. The color is really beautiful. It's the juice reduced. And look, all of a sudden you're decorating. And that's a fork and a bowl. All you do is cook the palm juice, which I purchased as palm juice, didn't do anything to it, pinch of sugar. There it is. I wanted something bright, so I found a pomegranate vinegar, and I added a splash just to make sure my acidity was up because I added sugar. So consistency is everything when you want to decorate. So all you're going to do is wait till it runs off your fork. Do you think you're at a thick or thinness that you like? And you can drizzle and decorate. This could be delicious on lamb. It could be glazed on a piece of meat. It could go on veal. The utilization is endless. I just chose to do something different today, but you could too. Having said that, pistachio. Everyone thinks about yummy pistachio, but you may not want to do this because it's laborious. I blanch them. Sometimes they come out, they're beautiful green, but they have that little bit of a husk still clinging, and I didn't want to have that show up in my siphon break. So I blanched them. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's a very bright green. And I just do a very quick hot water, ice water, and they don't like to be in water very long. And I just push off the little shell, and then I put them back on a sheet, pop them in the oven for just a matter of moments to dry them back out without color, and then let them stay dry with I had a silica packet, so I was able to pack, because I did this the night before, so I want to make sure they stay dry. So we cut a little angular cut with the pistachio. The fun thing with the siphon cake is that it might be more laborious than what you're thinking, but it could be easily done where you make a yummy pound cake with pistachio, and you make a crumb, and you could crust something with it, or you could sprinkle the crumb. So the possibilities are endless as long as you're open to them, and that's back to my thought of inspiration. So today in the earlier class, I talked about what inspires people. What I find are things that inspire me are those things which I do not like, and I find a way to remake them. The things that I love and I want to copy, or something that I want to expand upon. And there's nothing like taking a dish you think you already know and already like and asking yourself, is there something else I could do here? And in my mind, that's not adding something more, that's taking something away. When you're looking for purity, you're looking for less. It's really important when you have quality ingredients such as these to let them shine. It takes a lot of restraint. It's one of the hardest things I can teach in my kitchen, to stand back and let the food be the food. We, in this day and age, 12 ingredients, 13, 15, that's nice. But if you close your eyes and can't tell what you're eating, to me, you've missed the mark. So we also have some grapefruits that we just simply took the zest off of. We saved the juice. We did a candy of them. They hold, can be done in advance. They add a nice brightness to, and go very well with the pomegranates. We have cute little elder flowers for some pizzazz. We have also pickled onion off of the dish that we did today, which was our mackerel. You may have tried our mackerel in the marketplace with a jardinera vegetable. So these were pickled, lightly pickled in a white wine vinegar with a few other spices such as dry red chili and black peppercorns, some clove and allspice. All flavors, I think, are very emblematic to this dish. And remind yourself that some of those simple depth flavors are built in and left out. So it's a marinade, it's a rub, it's a base, it's a hidden element. Can add a great deal of elegance without you knowing necessarily that there's on the plate. It's just like, wow, why does that taste good? Why does that seem to stand out? Why is that so bright? So those are things that you're learning as a chef. You know these things, of course. So a little bit of a arugula. It's called astro arugula because I consider arugula to be a pepper. A lot of times I like to use it in place of a pepper. So I might add an olive oil. It's a brighter, greener olive oil. This time of the year we have olio nuovo. We have great olive oils in California as well. Many times at the restaurant I feel bad because I'm trying to really bring my diner to Italy in California, where in California we have many of these wonderful ingredients, and I should be promoting them as well. But I would like to think that I'm taking you to Italy, so I'm still holding on to that thought. Some days I don't do so good, but I'm trying. Pardon me. We did this dish for the sake of conversation. You'll see it in a minute when it comes up on the PowerPoint, with other ingredients at another time of the year. So that doesn't mean you can't be inventive. Maybe you like huckleberries or blueberries. Maybe cherry balsamics on your cabinet. Maybe you like parsnips or celery root that you can make a puree out of instead of the squash. Maybe you have beautiful parsley or something flowering in your yard. I have a lot of foraging that goes on in my backyard. So I have things like wild red leaf mustard, frilly mustard goes great on this. It could be something as simple as green onions or chives. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to decide what flavor profile you're looking for and try to stay a course, stay a direction that has some symbiotic relationship, if you can. Building a palate is best done by eating and by cooking. Don't be afraid. The more you cook, the better you become. And it's really hard. Many times I have culinary students and they don't cook at all. And they come to work and what are you cooking at home? And they look at me with a blank face like, I don't cook at home. And I'm like, oh, why? Don't you think that's a great, if you were an athlete, wouldn't you be working out? Wouldn't you be exercising and practicing and honing your craft of whatever sport you choose? This is very important that you understand to exercise all those muscle memories. Whether it's a plating technique, growing your palate, increasing your awareness of eyes and peripheral vision, whether you can hear behind yourself, which is unfortunately my crew likes to point that out that I do that very well. So those are things that you develop. And so when you talk about inspiration, I'm always trying to find what I can get out of my people, what I can get out of my food, what I can portray and give to my guests. And sometimes I really believe that building a better person builds a better cook who makes better food. So I start at the bottom level and move up. I pull the mom card and use it to its hilt. Sorry. Here we have difference going on. I was really happy to see that they're going to do something different. I'm not even sure that they're done yet. But I'm going to now go to the PowerPoint fun thing. Since I'm computer challenged, thank God I have my helper person back there. He's probably going to push the button even better than I don't even know what's up and down. Cool. So this whole category is something I thought you would enjoy visually. But with his assistance, I want to challenge you. We're going to go quickly through the photos. I don't want you to focus on ingredients. I want you to think, what shape am I looking at? What color am I looking at? Don't focus on the ingredients. And if you would, sir, can you do it for me? Just click. Go past the words. Click. 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 Oh my. That's one of my best dishes. Sorry. Click. 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 And click. What do you remember? Rectangles, circles, squares, green color, any other colors that pop out, cleanliness, white space, valuable information. Those ingredients don't matter if you don't see that first. Because if you want to be creative, you have to think that way. It can't be what you don't see. Let that set for a second. It cannot be what you don't see. Do you have to have the answer? No. Must you have the question? Yes. Herein lies the crux. Today's world, we don't take a risk. We don't want to take a risk. We don't want to look bad. We don't want to make a mistake. We don't learn. We don't grow. My young people come in and they're terrified about making a mistake. Why? They think that I'm going to chew them up and spit them up. I might, but that's not the point. I will do that more if they don't try. So I try to be a non-yeller, non-screamer, non-anything that will stop creative juices from flowing. Because where does their creativity come from? They're not even sure. They don't even know if they have it. And if you squelch it when they're so young, they won't try. And I pay people to try. I want them to understand that that's the one thing they can give me is of themselves. Why? It's unique. It's one of a kind. Their vision is unscathed because their ignorance allows them to see things that we are told are in a boundary, out of a box, whatever the case may be, is for some reason we can't do it. They don't know that. They're going to try something that I've said, oh, I can't do that. They're going to try it. I'm going to be like, whoa, how'd you do that? Could be all kinds of wrong. Who cares? Anybody got a grandma that cooks really great at home? Does she follow a recipe? Hell no. She doesn't care. And if you ask her what she's doing, she's like, what? Where's a recipe? I don't have one. Just watch me. I'm in Italy. I'm watching my nonna. She's making all this stuff. And I'm taking notes. And she said, put the goddamn notebook down. It made her angry. She's like, just watch. You're missing the most important things. And it was such an aha moment for me that I realized she was absolutely right. I was missing the soul. I was missing the content. I was missing seeing what she saw. Because every day those mushrooms weren't the same that she was using. Every day her wine wasn't the same. Every day the herbs didn't look as good or they looked better. I don't know. But she saw something that I was missing. And so when you're trying to create that for somebody, it's really hard because they don't know what they're looking at. Where's baseline? Baseline is who you are. And if you don't think that's good enough, you don't have baseline. So my number one job is to make you believe that you're good enough, to make you believe you're investing in yourself first, to make you believe that you can achieve and be creative by doing those things, by eating a piece of this, a piece of that. Taste it. Remember, remember, remember. What did that taste like? What did it go with? Did you think about what it could go with? Did you not like what it was with? Awesome. Just remember. Just remember. Okay? So now in doing that, when we went through those PowerPoints, we're going to go back now, if you wouldn't mind, sir, to the first one. Simplicity rules. Less is more. That little tiny thing there is scallops with caviar. It's to die for. Why? They were under sous vide. They were with a little bit of olive oil and lemon zest. They are put for maybe 15 to 20 minutes at a very low temperature. They just congeal without overcooking. They have all their moisture is locked inside. Sliced very thin, served very cold. It's actually served on a marble slab with this caviar, a little hint of lemon zest. And it may have been mint one time. It could have been chervil another time. But so delicious. Why? You could taste what you're eating. Next, please. These are just descriptions for you. Crudo, carpaccio, and tartare. Sometimes not interchangeable, but understanding the realm of them is helpful because one is going to be sliced very thin and usually kept as close to what it seems like. The word crudo sounds like raw. It helps you remember a lot that that's kind of good to where to begin. Carpaccio is going to be pounded thin, as we discussed, and a tartare can be anything that's cold chopped. Now, in Italy, tartare of veal is very common. Tartare of beef is very common. But when I hit tartare of lamb and tartare of duck, I was taken aback. I didn't expect that. It was so good, so delicious. So it just goes to show that it can be done, if you wouldn't mind. This is a campacci. It's a white fish. Beautiful bull's blood or red amaranth, orange sections that may have been on there, pistachios, I believe, and some other olive oil. Olive oil is a great carrier of flavor. Olive oil usually doesn't need any embellishment, but it helps to carry citrus or carry anything else. You can infuse into your olive oil. You can strain it back out. Some of the best battutos I had in Italy were garlic cloves that were smashed and left in oil for a matter of maybe 12 to 18 hours and then taken out. So you could get a hint of garlic, so soft and subtle you weren't even sure it was garlic. Next, please. This is one of my favorites, too. Same idea. All these ingredients very interspaced to allow the actual protein to show through in this case. And color content matching the fact that caviar is on that dish. Caviar has its own salinity, and so you're trying to let the caviar not be overshadowed. Remember to taste and think about what will overpower your food, and either cut it back, cut it down, or leave it off. Next. Really simple. This happened to be, I think, a Copper River salmon that was so, so good, it needed nothing. And I'm like, how do I serve that in fine dining and still, charge what fine dining does? So I had to find a way to do that. I found a really good olive oil. I was blood oranges at the time, I believe. Chives, and it was served in a manner that was almost soupy. because the fish was so soft and so wet and so moist that when you ate it with those combinations of flavors, it took you unexpectedly on another level. Next. One of my all-time favorites. This elevates vegetables. Who would think? The orange is carrots, the red is bell peppers. Not your exciting top-of-the-line things you're thinking about. But at the height of the season, carrots in a puree, red bell peppers, Marcona almonds, olive oil. There's a little bit of zest on here. But the scallops, once again, were that soft, subtle cook. And this dish just brought vegetables to a new realm. I'm always after vegetables. I've always trying to find a way to sneak them into fine dining and make them hold their own. Next course. Lobster doesn't show. It's unfortunate because this is a dish that's done as a salad, has a radish paper on top. It's really beautiful. It didn't come through for whatever reason, but it shows the lowly radish. Who would think of radish? Cut paper thin and laid out and stamped out into a circle so that it actually acts like a halo over the top of the salad. It's beautiful. The avocado paper, cook almost wanted to shoot me for putting that on the menu because it was so laborious, but actually it isn't that bad. But avocados at the height of the season with firmness, sliced paper thin and cut on strips so that they can be offloaded to the plate. Vegetable ash, fish very simply treated with olive oil. There may have been a little creme fraiche on this dish, but it ate so well, so well. Next. And by the way, that last dish, halibut's not known for being a very standout fish, but the olive oil and avocado were perfect foils because they didn't overpower the fish. The uni, if you like uni, it's great. If you don't, you probably just don't. The cucumber here was compressed so that the texture matched the uni, which was really interesting because the texture of a cucumber is crispy and crunchy, right? But you're not thinking that's going to be the best combination in mass with the uni. So by compressing it, it became soft and supple. It carried a wateriness that went so well with this sea item. So it was really an interesting combination. Next. The octopus was really hard to do because we tried to make a sausage. And it's really hard because octopuses has to be cooked till it's tender. So we had to cook it till it was tender and try and reform it. So we saved the braising liquid and made a gelatina, almost like a ballantine or galantine, and re-rolled it and cut it with the greens. And carpaccio, here we are at home base. This is just a different time of the year, but you can see the beautiful carpaccio. So let's, with that, segue to what Vince and Teresa have done. Can you hold up your plates? Is there a way to see? Can they walk them out so the guests can see? Where's the camera? Over the board. Over the board? Thank you. So Teresa, what'd you do? Good job. How is yours different from Vince? Vince, what'd you do?
Actually, I was thinking of you so many times in the kitchen way back when, how less is more.
The squab.
Single ingredient in and of its own, and just very delicately, kind of placed. So.
Sorry. He speaks.
He's got a good voice.
Yeah.
Should I say it over again? I thought of Chef Suzette, Chefy, as we called her way back when, almost a decade ago.
I'm not that old.
For me, way back when in my early Chefy days. I could just hear her in my head. Less is more. Let the things shine through. Let the ingredients show. Don't hide anything. So it's very much a very conscious effort to listen to my chef and really kind of let all the flavors and colors and textures speak for themselves.
Good, thank you. I thought of a cute little thing here, and I took the word recipe, and I thought, well, what recipes would I be bringing to this class? And I thought, what would be inspirational? What's a recipe for inspiration? So I took the letters, and I tried to think of all the words. Something kind of interesting came up, R, risk. Not being afraid to take a risk. Not being afraid of something new. E, examine and re-examine. What do you know? What do you not know? What would you like to know? What would you like to bring to the table? Are you a molecular gastronomy fan? Are you a purist? Are you really about what's in your garden at the moment? What would you like to do? Because you get to dream. And so many times we forget as we pick up a recipe, we think, I have to make it like this. I'm like, no, this is a guideline. And often I'll pick up a recipe, I'll look through the ingredients, I'll look through the technique and see if there's something I don't know or I don't like or I haven't tried. I'll often make it once their way, and then I'm off and running. Many times I think that it holds us down. It's a boundary that we don't need. So a recipe is a guideline. I'd like to change the name. C, chance for change. Take a chance, make a change. Look for clarity. I, inspiration, of course. P, is it perfection or is it permission not to be perfect? Which way would you like to go? I think that's really important. Permission not to be perfect means that you're going to take a chance, going to see if you hit something new. It might suck, who knows? But generally speaking, when I make something really bad, I always learn something. I always learn something, even if it's what not to do. E, encourage, enlighten, elevate, and elegance. I hope you found this presentation worthy and that you take home something from it. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Suzette. That was fantastic. Questions? What is a siphon cake?
Container, shooting it out, preferably into a container that has some kind of a hole, and usually you're microwaving because you need that automatic really quick lift. And if your microwave doesn't go out like mine did last night in the middle of doing this, you're in good shape. If it does go out, I don't recommend it, but pretty much you need that lift. So it's like 45 seconds in a microwave and it goes up and stays up, and I can pass this bowl around so you can take a look. The texture's so cool. If you want to see a look or pass it around, you can eat a piece. See, it's a cake batter that's aerated. It's that simple. And that's baked so it stays aerated. I actually put the container upside down like a panettone so that it stays when it dries and cools. Any other questions? Would you be willing to try any carpaccios?
There's a question up here, too, Suzette.
Yes and no.
I'm going
Yes?
to just repeat that question so it's recorded. Specialty meats and fish that have a flavor so distinct that they don't need additional ingredients. A lot of embellishment.
If you remember our last screen, that was a Wagyu beef. Wagyu beef is not usually a first choice for a tartare. Why? It's so high in fat, it coats your mouth. It's not as pleasant. So we found a way to, thank you, to try and cut back on the fat and add things that cut fat. So we buried in a little tiny of a pickled shallot. We put a little bit of a Dijon mustard type of a sauce on the side. We found elements on top such as egg white, which is clean and pure and protein-based, and another green like arugula. Can you go to the last slide? So that when you ate it, all of the fats were minimized, and it acted as if it was the olive oil. So yes, to answer your point, the more delicate of the fishes I mentioned to you with the halibut, people don't normally choose halibut. It's almost too bland. But what could you pair it with that elevated the halibut? Isn't that the question? What would bring the richness? What would bring the accent point? What would be other than salt? And of course, you're probably going to have olive oil or some form of oil, maybe a different oil. Maybe something that you haven't tried before, maybe a nut oil. What about a hazelnut oil with halibut? Doesn't that seem like that would work? And if you had some fresh hazelnuts or pistachios, and perhaps some pomegranates too, you might find that the halibut becomes a whole nother critter. And that's what I think is so cool, is when you answer your own question, is to try the one you think works the least. Don't try the one you know. Try the one you think works the least and see what goes with it. That's the aha moment in my mind. Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Inspiration.
It really floats my boat to think that I have offered you any little piece of anything, whether sometime this morning or today, that you'll go home and try or think that you didn't think before.
I have a question for you. In thinking of your dishes and your creative inspiration as a consumer, how does that translate to the plate to the consumer? Does a consumer understand when they receive this dish? Do they understand your intention with that?
No, not always. And that's a risk. Well, I think, first of all, when you do certain dishes that are more risky than others, and Chef can certainly speak to this, you take a chance every time you make a risky dish. You try to balance out your menu. You have to have something for the food critic who's coming in unexpectedly and the person who's from the middle of Nebraska and never seen a halibut before. So you really need to think which one of these dishes transfers. One of my signature dishes is a foie gras pasta. Oh, foie gras is banned. Now what do you do? Well, I had to recreate the dish. I had to find another way to do it. How could I just lose 25 years of my history because someone changed a law? I didn't quite seem right. So I understand the motive behind it. Okay, fine. But it happened to have been my identifier. So I had to take a chance because I have a consuming public that asks for it all the time. And so indeed, I had to find a way to rework that dish. But to answer your question, there are many times the consumer may or may not agree or like. So you try to find middle of the road. You try to find esoteric. You try to find creative within boundaries of reason. And where does that reason lie? Well, it lies with me. It lies with any time you go to someone who's working really hard to make you a great meal. And I think as a diner, you have a responsibility too. Two things, if I could say anything, is If you don't like something, tell your server, tell the house. Please don't go to social media and rip them without having faced off. It's so unfair. Please tell us. Why? We really take it to heart. We really want to make it better. You may have saved us from making a mistake that we missed somehow, and maybe someone else will be spared. And secondarily, I love that repartee. I want to know why you don't like it. That's more important to me than anything else. I want to know why you don't like it.
Awesome.
Perfect note to end on. Thank you so much to our chefs, Suzette, and to David, and to Cathy for moderating. Thank you to Steve and to the wonderful company for this fabulous session. We hope you've enjoyed it, found it valuable.
Quinoa and rice stuffed leeks, and the inspiration to that dish came through traveling in Israel and seeing the different variation on stuffed vegetables. Take the leeks, trim the root end, blanch them in hot boiling water or in a liquid concentrated broth. Gently cut a slit lengthwise, not all the way through, and peel the leeks one layer at a time. Those layers will be what we use to stuff. Prepare the mixture. Use chopped garlic. Add quinoa and rice that have been soaked separately in water for at least 1 hour. Add chopped mint, roughly chopped walnuts, and mix well. Add pomegranate molasses, nor intense flavor miso umami, and a little bit of cumin to the stuffing and mix well. Place about a tablespoon or 2 of the stuffing into the leek. Roll the leeks and place aside. When you're done, lay evenly in a shallow pan and cover with liquid concentrated broth that is diluted in water. Add about 2 tablespoons of pomegranate molasses and 2 Persian lemons. Bring to a simmer, cover, and cook for about an hour until rice is fully cooked. Put the leeks on a serving platter, garnish with fennel ferns, and drizzle with pomegranate molasses.
An infusion of watermelon juice makes this boba or bubble tea extra delicious. In this recipe, we're using tiny colorful watermelon balls in place of tapioca pearls. We'll get started by preparing our watermelon boba balls. Here, I have watermelon slabs that have been compressed at 99% in a vacuum sealer. Remove the compressed watermelon pieces from the bags, and with a small Parisian knife or a miniature melon baller, scoop out watermelon boba into 1/4-inch balls until you have 1 cup. Puree and strain the remaining watermelon scraps to make watermelon juice. Place 4 cups of the watermelon juice into a pot and reduce by half, skimming off any foam that may form. Add 4 cups of water and half a cup of green tea leaves into another pot and heat to a simmer. Remove from the heat and strain out the tea leaves, allow to cool slightly. In a pitcher filled with ice, add the reduced watermelon juice, tea, and condensed milk and mix vigorously. Add the watermelon boba into your serving glass and then pour in the watermelon tea. Garnish with mint sprigs and serve with a boba straw. Kids and adults will love this sweet, creamy watermelon tea with its refreshing watermelon pearls. Kombucha is a fermented beverage that is now on store shelves everywhere thanks to its probiotic health benefits and tasty tart flavor. Grapes provide an additional healthy boost to this refreshing kombucha. First, we make our tea. Heat the mashed California grapes with the fresh green grape juice, water, green tea leaves, and honey until just simmering. Strain this mixture and allow to cool to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, place into a sterile glass container and add the SCOBY. Cover with a cheesecloth. Allow the kombucha to sit at room temperature for 2 weeks until the SCOBY has grown and the kombucha has developed a nice sour taste. Carefully decant the liquid off the SCOBY and refrigerate. Enjoy the kombucha for up to 1 month and remember to keep the SCOBY for future batches of grape kombucha. For a fun cocktail, mix this grape kombucha with vodka or gin. Enjoy! Find this recipe and more on ciaprochef.com/grapes.